You can have the best Excel spreadsheet, you can have the best strategy, unless you have the right leaders, whether you're running a country, as we all have found out in the US, or a company, or a household, right? Or, you know, being a participant in a church group. Leadership really is what makes a difference between success and failure. And at the same time, there's probably no other area of business, again, where there's so much misconception and so little data. There's so many myths that really don't hold up to real analysis and real research. We usually procrastinate around have-tos. Like, there are things, if you think about your day, there are things you want to do and there are things you have to do. And we rarely procrastinate around things we want to do. So I had a coaching session with the CEO, and she said, yeah, I really should do that. I said, no, stop right here. You will do nothing. When I hear a client saying, yeah, I really should do that, let's see what is it that you actually want to do. And so what I try to do with my clients, and what actually helps me, is I try to really, like, if I know I'm procrastinating on something, I'm trying to figure out, is there actually, like, what is it that I actually want? Like, is there I want to behind this I have to? And usually if you peel down, so for example, I'm terrible. Now it's a little bit better because I've done so many of them, but it used to be so stressful for me to prepare for public speaking. Awful, just terrible. And so I procrastinated until the last minute. I was completely stressed out. I was freaking out, but I wasn't preparing because I was frozen, right? But the I want to under it, and which was like, I have to do this thing. But the I want to was, it was so important for me to bring this knowledge and bring this research to the widest circle of people. And so what helps me get through procrastination is be really clear about, if I have these commitments on my plate, what's the I want to underneath? If you looked at me in 2003, I want to say, you would have seen me. I was at McKinsey, and I was a manager at McKinsey, and the head of the McKinsey media practice sat me down and said, look, we've been telling you for the last 3 years that your writing is just really not good. And at this point, I just have to tell you, your writing is so bad, we're kind of starting to wonder if your thinking is good. And like, you don't want someone at McKinsey to tell you they're wondering. And then he made it very clear, just in case I wasn't hearing it still, you're like, you know, we'd like to promote you, but we're not going to promote you unless you fix the writing. And so it's a little ironic, right? That, you know, certainly at that point, I had no aspirations to be writing books, but I spent the next, you know, quite very agonizing days and hours. First, you know, I went through all the phases of, you know, denial, rejection, bargaining, and all of that very, very quickly. And McKinsey had a great communication specialist at the time. And I just ran to her. And I think I was in tears. I'm pretty sure I was. And I think I must have said something like, I don't even agree with this, but we have to fix this. And so that at the time felt like a huge setback. In hindsight, we can all laugh at it, but at the time it really wasn't funny, even when we think we're following data. Our emotional brain was formed literally for 200 years to do only a couple of things well. Number one, find food. Number two, find a mate. And number three, avoid becoming food for someone else. Yeah. And not necessarily in that order. And so what happens is, no matter whether you had a 35-year career history of, you know, leading a marketing organization, when it comes to picking human beings, you're using those 200 million. The 200 million is just bigger than 30 or 50, no matter how. And so the why is that we get seduced by factors that have nothing to do with somebody's performance. And the worst thing is, unless we're conscious of our biases, we fall right into it. And particularly under stress, right? Because a lot of times when you choose somebody, it's a really high-risk decision. So if you project confidence, you're more likely to get selected for a job. If you are extroverted, you're more likely to get a job. If you've got great pedigree, if you're coming from an Ivy League institution, you're more likely to get a job. Why is all of that? Because all of that subconsciously or consciously signals safety. It's basically somebody looking at a candidate who is charismatic, extroverted, kind of looks the part, makes people feel safe that they're going to get what they're looking for. Life is a difficult journey, no matter how far you go, whether you become a CEO or a leader or in any regard. And ultimately, for a leader, or I think for anyone, finding that touchstone, finding that place that helps you stay steady, helps you understand who you are and what's really important,